The Sony SmartWatch 3. So after using this smartwatch for a few days, I've learned so much more about the Android Wear software and pretty much smartwatches in general. Hey everyone, Ultimate Reviews here, and today we'll be taking an even closer look at Sony's latest smartwatch, the Sony SmartWatch 3. So I personally think it's fair to start off by saying the Sony SmartWatch 3 really does have your typical smartwatch design. In terms of design, looks nothing like the very popular Moto 360 or the very similar to the Moto 360 LG Watch R, which I previously reviewed, link will be in the description. But that doesn't mean I don't like the design of the Sony SmartWatch 3. One thing with this smartwatch is that people immediately notice that it's clearly not an ordinary watch, and this is something that you couldn't really tell apart from with the LG Watch R, and for this reason I find it very unique. So before I move on to the actual physical design of the watch, let's talk about the display, which I have to say has impressed me in certain areas. So it's a 1.6 inch transflective display. Now in case you're not too familiar with the term transflective, it's basically a display that when exposed in sunlight can actually show the content of the display without actually being woken up. Personally, it reminds me of the electronic paper display they used on the Kindle e-readers, but overall this feature is really amazing and you really do save a ton of battery life, as the screen is not really producing any real colors. Now, moving on to the downsides of the display, moving from the LG Watch R, which featured a POLED display, which I have to say was beyond amazing, it's hard to move back to an LCD display. Now, the display isn't terrible, and it's just not fantastic either. It features a 320 by 320 resolution display, and I could often see some pixels which kind of bugged me, but again, in sunlight, this isn't really going to be a serious issue. So let's talk design and durability. This watch is solid, and the main reason for that being is that Sony have used metal all around the watch, and it also feels as if they've used some real tough silicone to design the smartwatch, and I really love the idea of that. Now with the LG Watch R, they use leather to design the strap, and it feels great, but it doesn't provide you with that ultimately solid feel. However, with the SmartWatch 3, because of the silicone and obviously the weight that comes with it, it almost reminds you that there's something on your wrist. Now, here comes my favorite part of the whole design of the watch, and it's the wrist strap. It was so easy to put on, and obviously that is what you would expect from an ordinary watch. But with the LG Watch R, there was a little bit of struggle when putting on the watch due to the leather strap. It kept creasing, it kept bending, and maybe other people might not experience this problem, but I have quite thin wrists, so I found myself pulling the leather strap all the way to the end, and it just felt so uncomfortable putting on. I felt like I was ripping the leather, and I just felt really uncomfortable. But with the Sony SmartWatch 3, they've decided to include a simple click and go belt, and it really is click and go. You literally have to adjust the brace to the size of your wrist and you click it in, and it just feels really nice. And the best part about it is that nice and loud click it provides you with, just to confirm that it's all in place. Now the metal brace, however, does look quite delicate, and I really would advise anyone who is looking to pick it up to be very careful, as it obviously will bend when force is exerted on it. We also can't forget the physical buttons on the right hand side of the smartwatch, which simply acts as a wake and sleep button, and it also allows you to access the settings in the menu just by holding it down for a couple of seconds. Now at the back of the smartwatch, you'll also find the charging port, which is a simple micro USB connection, but what I found very strange was the positioning of the port. Personally, I think they could have put it in a different position, or even better, created one of those charging cradles like the ones found on the LG Watch R or even the Moto 360. Now in the heart of Sony's latest smartwatch, you'll find a quad-arm A7 processor, clocked at 1.2 GHz, and also that 512 MB of RAM, and we also can't forget the 4 GB of built-in memory. Now I haven't experienced any sort of lag with this smartwatch, and the processors really do seem to be doing a powerful enough job to run its everyday apps. I even downloaded a game on the smartwatch just to see if I can at least push the processors out of their comfort zones and still no lag. So the processor seemed to be quite solid. Now pairing the smartwatch with my Sony Xperia Z Ultra, which by the way is running Android 4.4, and for you to pair your smartwatch with a smartphone, it will need to be running Android 4.3 or higher. But with my experience with the Z Ultra was a total breeze, and you know, not because they're both Sony, but I already had the Android Wear app installed when I was using it with my LG G Watch R, so it was really a breeze. All I had to do was pair the passcodes together. It takes a few seconds and it runs over a Bluetooth connection. You really won't have any problems there. Now the 420 mAh battery also promises 2 days of battery life with normal usage, of course, and from my experience I think that's true and even beyond. I was able to get up to 3 days of battery life just by occasionally flicking through some of the Google cards and showing people how the watch works. So overall, I'm really impressed with the battery life. Now the Sony SmartWatch 3 also brings some other cool features such as the IP68 rating and also NFC, and this will all be running on the Android Wear software. So this has been my review on the Sony SmartWatch 3, and overall I have to say that Sony have done a really great job, and this is your very typical smartwatch, and it's great that Sony have kept it as your typical smartwatch. It's nothing like the Moto 360, it's nothing like the LG G Watch R. They've made it look like an ordinary smartwatch, and if you are in the market for a smartwatch that isn't round, I would 100% recommend this smartwatch. It has all the features and beyond that you could possibly ever need on a smartwatch, and the processors and all the other extra features will definitely live up to your expectations. So other than that, guys, I hope you've all enjoyed the video. If you have, please feel free to hit the thumbs up button. It really helps out a lot, and also hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. I will be bringing a whole load more reviews, especially from the smartwatch field, seeing as there's a whole lot more products coming into the market now. So make sure you stay tuned for that, and I will see you all in the next video. Have a great day, guys. Peace.